first of all, thank you guys for all that you're doing and supporting us and coming out. And we hope we are supporting you guys as well. So thank you for everything that you guys are doing. I'm going to go ahead. I'm Chris Solis, just in case you didn't know me, and this is my partner today, Denise Dalrymple.
Hey.
And so I'm going to go ahead and present my screen now. And I'm going to start in Google Drive. Can you see that, Denise?
Yep, I see it.
Oops. Okay. So I'm just going to give you 2 quick tips real quick in Drive, if you may or may not know these. Here on the right-hand side, some people call that the grid. I call it the waffle. But if you click on that, it brings up your G Suite tools. And in that, usually Classroom is down here at the bottom. So you can drag these icons around wherever you want to make them kind of customize your Drive. The other quick tip is searching for something in your Drive. You can type it in here at the search box, but then you could come over here to this little triangle, little drop-down triangle. So right now it's any type of document in your Drive, but you can change that by clicking here. And so if I only want to search for spreadsheets, I can do that. And just my spreadsheets will come up. I can do the same thing for a Google form and search for that. So that's just a quicker way to find some items in your Drive if you need it. All right, so with Google Forms, we're going to go ahead and create. Go on the plus here. Here's our documents and sheets. Go down to more. Here are some more G Suite tools, and we're going to click on Google Forms. All right, so the first thing you probably want to do is give your form a title. And once you type in your title, if you click up here in the left-hand corner, it will replace it with whatever you type here. You can give it a description. Okay, and then you have your first question here. Your first question in your Google form, you probably want it to be name, because you want your student's name. It could be, I know secondary, they like to use their name and the period. They maybe have that student. And the good thing with Google Forms is it defaults the answer that you may want. You can change this if you want to. You have all these different options: paragraph, multiple choice, check boxes, but it will default or give you, fill that in for you as you create it. You do want this question to be required. So that you can, so students can't skip it. Here on the right-hand side, you have a couple of more options. Here's where you can add a question, you can import questions, add a title, description, add an image, add a video, and add a section. And Denise is going to talk about a couple of these a little bit later. All right, so here, we'll come back to these icons up here on the right-hand corner in just a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and create another question. And then I'm going to go ahead and type in my answers. Well, let me try this again. Evaporation, condensation, precipitation, and runoff. Well, what's going on today? Okay, let me try this one more time. Condensation, condensation.
So you're clicking other instead of add option. So you have either add option or other.
Okay.
So get rid of other.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right.
No, I only know that because that was my mistake. It took me a long time to figure that out.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So once you have your answers in, you can also, if you scroll over here to the right, you can add an image. So you can upload one from your computer. You may have one in Google Drive. We're just going to search for one in Google Images. So I'm going to select that and insert it. Do the same thing for condensation. Precipitation. And then we'll add one for runoff. Okay, so I have my first question. And depending on how you set this up, you can save yourself a lot of time. So I could start typing in what is the second step of the water cycle, but I can come down here and I can click on duplicate. And now all I have to do is just change a couple of words in the question. So I can do that second step. What is the third step? And then I can, what is the last step? Okay, so now I have my questions, my 4 questions there. Another good thing is if you look right here at the top of the question, these 6 dots, this allows you to move your questions around. So I can move this to the top if I wanted to. I can move it to the bottom. Also, in your question, if I click over here, then I can also move my answers around too. Very quickly help me save some time. Okay. right, so I'm going to go back up to the top now. And up here on the right-hand side, you have custom view. So right now my form looks a little plain. I want to jazz it up a little bit. So I can change the header here. So if I go to travel, I believe, insert this. And I'll also change your theme color here as well. You can change that in your background color. You can change your font. So anything you want to change on your theme, you can do that just to make it look a little bit better. I can preview it. So if I click on the preview icon, I can see what my form looks like. Now also up here in the URL, you see that it says view form. So I can't edit anything right now if I click on it. But then if I click back, you'll see where it says edit. So now anything I click on, I can edit that question. All right, we're going to go over to the settings gear. And with that, you have 3 tabs here. Under the general tab, if you want to collect email addresses, you could do that. They're restricted to you, users in MISD. This presentation tab, I like it because this confirmation message, if I put they'll see this after they submit their Google form, they'll see this message. So you can give them directions as far as what you want them to do next, or just say, you know, good job, type of thing. And then the third tab is the quiz tab. So if I want to make this form a quiz, I'm going to turn it on. And where it says lock mode on Chromebooks, you would probably want to do this at school. You probably don't want to do this now because right now students are using all different kinds of devices, but you could lock them in on a Chromebook. So I'm going to click save. So now to make my form a quiz, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to click on my question. And down here in the bottom left-hand corner, it says answer key. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to give each question 5 points. So what is the first step? And I'm going to answer the correct answer. Once I've done that, then I'll click done. And then I'll go to my next question. And see, you can see that it's given that question 5 points. So I'll go to my next question, answer key, 5 points, condensation, done. Go to the third step, answer key, precipitation, done. And then the last step, answer key, 5 points, and runoff. Oops, I missed the question. I think it's this one. Yes. Okay, so once I'm done, I can see now here at the top of my form, there's 20 points total. If I want to see what it's going to look like as well, I'll go back to the preview icon. And I'll just go through this quickly. Get some wrong answers here. And so now when I submit it, there's that question that I said in the presentation tab that you can type in. They can view scores. So they can see how they did. So they can see that they got 5 out of 20. And then they can go back and look and see what they missed. And then also on your form, here at the top, you can see responses. So if I click on that, I can scroll down and see. This is good to see what question was missed most often. And then also it produces its own spreadsheet. So you'll have a spreadsheet with everybody's answers on it. And then you notice it creates a new spreadsheet called the water cycle. So you could come back to this and give this to the students again, get the responses, and then instead of creating a new spreadsheet, you could select an existing spreadsheet, which would be the water cycle. So you would see those same kiddos and see what they answered at that as well. Okay, the last thing I want to show you is to share it. If I click on the send button, there's 3 ways you can do this. One is through email, which you may or may not use. Link, this is probably what you want to put in Google Classroom. You can shorten that if you want to. And then you also can embed it, and that's probably good for a Google site. So those are probably the 3 ways that you can share it. And then finally here on the 3 dots, you can have collaborators, so you can add somebody on there as well if you want to. And then you can also make a copy too. Okay. Any questions on any of that? All right, I think Denise is going to go over.
Chris, I have a question.
Yes.
I created a form for an assignment, and a couple of my kids didn't do well on it, and they said, Jeffrey, can I retake it? So what I did is I went back and I deleted their name from the response, and then I deleted it from the spreadsheet. So are they still able to retake it again by doing that? Or does it remember that they already took it? Do you know that question?
Denise?
I don't know the answer to that, but you could go into your form and change the settings so that they can take it again.
Oh, how do you do that? Well, I saw something about about taking.
Let me present real quick.
Because I deleted their names and stuff, and I said, okay, try again, but then I haven't heard from them. So, I don't know if they're able to do it or not. So.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen.
Yeah. Okay, in the settings right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Limit to 1 response.
Okay.
So if you check that, they can only have 1 response.
At one time. Okay. All right.
So it may already be there that they could do it again.
Okay.
So we'll just have to check the settings.
Okay, I'll check that setting and see if it's okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I'm going to show you logic branching. And what logic branching does is it allows you to create a reteach piece for the kids. So if they miss a question, it'll send them to the reteach piece. If they get it correct, it'll take them right to the next question. So the way to do that, I went ahead and started the form, and it automatically has our question here. But what I need to do is I'm going to put each question in its own section. So right along here, down at the very bottom, allows you to add sections. So I'm going to put an extra section here. And I'm going to title my first session, question 1. There's a reason for the titles on the sections because it's going to help you when you go and actually assign those sections back and forth, and you'll see that in a minute. So my first question is, what part of the water cycle is rain? And I'm going to do multiple choice. I'm going to choose option, and I'm going to put condensation, precipitation, evaporation, and runoff. Okay. And then I'm going to require my question. Actually, no, I'm not going to require it. Yeah, the first one I am. The first one I'm going to require. I am going to go back up to my settings, and I'm going to make it a quiz so I can set correct answers. Choose my answer key. I'm going to give them 5 points. And this is precipitation. And I'm going to click done. Now, for my next question, I'm going to add another section. So question 2. And I'm add a question then. The sun, and y'all don't look at my curriculum, okay? My curriculum may not be right, but you get the idea, right? The sun aids in which part of the water cycle? And I'm going to put precipitation, condensation, evaporation, and runoff. I'm going to say the answer to that one is evaporation. And I'm going to hit done. Oh, I could give them points too. And then I'm going to add another section for question 3. Add my question there. Water flowing down is an example of, I don't know, condensation, evaporation, precipitation, and runoff. We're going to say that that's runoff. Again, don't tell science people that I don't know all this, but anyway. Okay, so now I've got my 3 questions. Now I need to add a section for a reteach for each of those sections. So I'm going to add a section, and right here I'm going to put question 1 reteach. Okay, and then I'm going to add some type of reteach piece. It can be just text, it can be a picture, it can be a video, it can be whatever you want. So I'm going to add a video, and I'm going to find something on the water cycle. Okay, I've watched this video. It's going to tell me exactly what my kids need to know and match up with curriculum. So I'm going to choose it and hit select. And then underneath that video, I want to add a question so I can be sure and see if my kids had to go to the reteach piece. And I'll show you that in a minute. So I'm going to add a question. And you can add any question you want. Was this resource helpful? And I can just put yes or no. Yes or no. All right. Okay. And then I'm going to add another section because I need a question piece. So I need a reteach piece for question 2. And I'm going to add an image here. I'm going to add an image of the water cycle. That one looks great. I'm going to insert it. Where is it? There it goes. And then I'm going to add a question. I want to see if my kids had to go here. Does this help you answer the question? And you can get more specific on your questions, again, just depending on what that curriculum was. And then one more section down for question 3. I can add a resource. Let's add another video. I think that question was about the runoff, right? Water cycle in you. That looks good. Of course, I've watched it, and it's perfect for curriculum, right? Did this help with the do you know more about the water cycle? All of those, yes, no, maybe. Okay. So now I have my question 3 reteach, my question 2 reteach, and my question 1 reteach, and then each of my questions. Now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to click on this question, and down in the bottom right-hand corner, there's 3 little dots. I'm going to click those dots, and I'm going to go to a section based on the answer. So that's going to give me some choices right here. And this is also the reason I put my questions first. So question 1, question 2, question 3, and then I put my reteach pieces at the bottom. It's going to help with this. And get it all laid out exactly how you want it before you do this last part. Because if you add another section in there, that's going to mess this all up. Okay? Because it's going to change your sections. So have all of your questions, all of your reteaches done before you do any of this, or you're going to have to go back and do it all again. So the answer to if I answer condensation, that's incorrect. So I want it to go to the reteach piece. Now watch this. See why I named it that? Because it's actually section 5. But if I just look right here, question 1 reteach, it's easy for me to find. So that's why I named those sections what I did. So I'm going to choose question 1 reteach. This is the correct answer. So they don't need a reteach. So they can go straight to question 2. Notice question 2 is in section 3. Again, that's why I named it question 2. And then here, this is incorrect. So I want to reteach question 1. And again, the question 1 reteach part. Okay. And so I'm going to do the same thing for the next one. I'm going to hit my 3 dots, go to a section based on the answer. This is question 2, and I spelled precipitation wrong, sorry. If they get it incorrect, we're going to reteach question 2. This one, we're going to go reteach question 2. This one, we're going to go on to question 3 because they got it correct. Here's my question 3. And here, I'm going to reteach question 2 again. And again, with my question 3, go to section based on answer. I'm going to reteach question 3. Reteach question 3. Reteach question 3. And this is correct. So if they get the very last, this is my last question, so that if they get this correct, we can submit the form. Okay? So now we're going to come down here. If they go to a reteach piece, I want to just, this is question 1. after they answer that, no matter what, I want them to go back to question 1 and answer it correctly. Or I could just have them go straight to question 2. It depends on what you want them to do. Okay? I want them to go back and answer question 1 and see if they understood it. So I'm going to go back to question 1. Down here, this is question 2, Reteach. I want them to go back to question 2. And then down here at the bottom, I don't have that choice at the bottom. So here, I'm going to have to go to my section based on the answer. So after they answer this, I want them to go back to question 3. Oops. Sorry, I messed up. There you go. So they're going to go back to question 3 no matter what they answer. Does that make sense? And I don't want to require these reteach pieces because if they don't have to answer them, I don't want them to have to go back to those questions. Okay? I can require these 3 questions if I wanted. So now I'm going to preview it. And it's going to give me one section at a time. So we're going to go next. And what I didn't put, I forgot to put, is their name. I always try to put a place for students' names in there. So I may go back and fix that. I saw that. This is required. What part of this water cycle is rain? So I'm going to put condensation. And I'm going to check all of these to make sure. Is it going to take me to my reteach piece? Yes. And I'm going to hit next. It's going to take me back to question 1. And I usually check all of them to make sure I didn't mess up. But I'm going to not do that for you guys. So precipitation, that was correct. So I'm going to go to question 2. So this one, I'm going to answer condensation. Let's see if it takes me to my question 2 reteach. I'm going to answer my question 2. It's going to take me back to question 2. And evaporation. That's going to take me to question 3 because I answered it correctly. And then this one is going to take me to my question 3 reteach. I'm going to put maybe, and it's going to take me back to question 3. And then when I answer it correctly, it's going to have me submit my form. Okay? So it's doing exactly what I want it to do. So now I'm going to go back to my form. Here's my responses. And you can tell what students, let's see if I go to individual, I can see if they answered the reteach pieces, then I know they missed it one time. So that's why I put a question at the end of my reteach piece. All I really want to know is if they had to go there or not. So if there's an answer on that reteach piece, I know that they had to go there. If there's not an answer for it, then I know that they got that correct. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions about any of that? So we got a few more minutes left. I want y'all to be thinking about different ways you could use Google Forms. I wanted to show you, I have a kindergarten teacher who created a Google form for her students in her Google Classroom. And I just thought that was a really cool thing to do. So for her daily work, she begins her days here. And then her daily reading check-in, I think it's this one. Here's a Google form that she created. And when you open it up, it has the kids put their name in there. It has them go through their little ABC song like they would do in class every day. It goes through their sight word song every day. And then it just asks how they're doing. How you doing today? Checking up on you. And then do you have anything to tell me? And then submit. And they do that every time they go into their Google Classroom every day. So they're getting that basic work that they normally would get in the mornings that they're not getting with you every day. And then so every day she's going to have a submission on that Google form to know if those kids got in there or not. I just thought that was a really fun way to use Google Forms. So what are some other ways you guys can use Google Forms, do you think, in your classroom? I would love to hear some thoughts. The Google form does save to your Google Drive. Yes. You can unmute and talk now.
I was going to say, I am going to use it for comprehension questions because I've been recording stories for my kids and putting it in Google Classroom. But I say, you know, record how washing your hands is important, or, you know, send a video or a picture. But to have the questions with the images, I think will work well.
Awesome. Thank you. How are you?
Great.
I'm good.
Good. What are some other ways you could use Google Forms?
You could always survey your parents for little ones, because a lot of times they have to help, you know, and if you want to know what times are convenient, you could always, you know, survey your parents with a Google form.
I love that. Yes.
Great.
That's super helpful. That's where you'd have to go in for those settings and make sure that it's not restricted to MISD users too. Yes. Perfect.
I just recently created one for, I'm a special ed teacher, and I did one for the kids that have to do transitions because we're in middle school. And they have to fill out like a questionnaire for us to kind of let us know what they want to do besides doing like career cruising. We still try to talk to them to find out what they think their areas of weaknesses are and strengths. So I created a Google form like that where all of our special ed teachers can now just submit to the kids. Because now we can't really talk to them face to face.
Right.
Unless they do get on Google Meets, but sometimes that's hard to do.
Yes, exactly. That's awesome.
Great.
Love it.
Great.
Do any teachers use Google Forms to just find out how their kids are feeling, how they're doing to that day, or how they're feeling about what you've given them to do? I'm curious about that.
Yeah, I think it's a great tool to get all kinds of information. It doesn't necessarily have to be a quiz type of form. It could be just to see how the kids are doing, seeing what they understand, and just checking in on them.
And maybe just seeing where they're struggling. I think, so one thing we're finding out is kids are having trouble. So talking to some parents who have several teachers. So like if, you know, they've got 4 or 5 teachers and every single Google Classroom is set up differently, the kids are struggling trying to figure out, okay, it's laid out here. What am I supposed to do in this class? And then I've got to figure out something different in this class. Maybe just getting feedback from the kids on what they're struggling with and how you can help make that easier for them. Because we're learning too, right? And we need some feedback. And some of our teachers have thought it's really helpful. Hey, I'm a parent too, and so I'm seeing where my kids are struggling going through this work. You know, I know we're all struggling too, but I mean, just that feedback piece is really great.
How can I, if they submit a test, a multiple choice test, how can I delay the feedback? Let's say that I don't want them to know the right answers right away. So I want to, let's say that they test today, and I want to give them the feedback until Monday.
Okay.
How can I block the feedback?
So that would be in their in those settings. Let me see. Let me share my screen here with you again. So in the settings right there, that little settings button, is it in general, guys? Let's see.
It's in quizzes, Denise.
It's in quizzes. Okay, I missed it.
Yeah, scroll down.
Right here.
Yeah.
Release grade.
Scroll down a little bit.
And you go later after manual review, turn on email collection.
And actually, do you want them to, can they receive their grade, or you don't want them to see the correct answers?
No, the thing is that they don't do it at the same time, and I don't want them to talk to each other and say, "Oh, this is the correct answer." So the kids that test later know which are the correct answers.
And so you're okay with them receiving their grade. You just don't want them to see what the correct answer was.
Even I would like to block the grade until 2 days later or something like that. When all the kids are already testing, then I will want to give them the grades.
Okay. So you
I also didn't go down far enough here. So under that release grade part, you can uncheck all of those. You might be able to give them point values. I don't know.
Okay.
They'll know if they missed it or not if they have point values. So you could uncheck all of those.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Great question.
Somebody asked, will we have access to this video for future reference? Yes. So we're recording it, and then it'll be posted on in the Mesquite ISD website on the distance learning tab under instructional technology. It will take it a little while to process, so it may be a couple days before you see it, but you will have access to that. And we're sorry we didn't post one before. Somehow it just, with everything going, it just didn't get recorded. So, yay, which is probably better because I think we've gotten better at teaching it as we've gone along. Any other questions? Or any other ways you can think of using Google Forms? So tell us one thing that you feel like you've learned or that you might take back and use with your class.
Denise, I was a little lost when you were explaining about the reteaching part.
Okay.
How did you put it that this is incorrect? Go to the reteaching.
Okay, I will show you that. Okay, was I already presenting? Can y'all already see what? Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so right here under my questions, I'm going to click my questions. So you know how to assign the correct answer. So I've already assigned my correct answer. I'm going to go to these three dots down here in the right-hand corner. When I click that, I'm going to choose go to section based on answer.
Oh,
okay. And then that's going to bring up these choices right here. So I can see that I've already picked this is the correct answer. So if this is question 1, I want them to go to question 2 if they get this correct, right? They don't need a reteach piece on that because they already know it. But all my other questions, all my other answers, if they miss this, then that means they need a reteach. So I'm going to click this and I'm going to choose question 1 reteach.
Okay.
Right? So all of the wrong answers, I'm going to send them to the question 1 reteach. If they get it right, I'm going to send them to question 2. And then the same thing with question 2. I clicked on those dots and I chose go to section based on answer. And it brought up these choices. And that's why I named each of my sections what they are. Because this is section 6. I would have to scroll down, figure out which section it was, go back and do that. So that's why I gave it each section this name. So all of my incorrect answers, I'm going to send them to my question 2 reteach. Right? My correct answer, they don't need a reteach piece, so I'm going to send them to question 3. Does that help?
Yes.
And then when I go to my reteaches, Down at the bottom for the first two, it's going to say, hey, go to this section. So I can just go straight to back to question 1 if I want them to do that. Or if I don't want them to have a chance to re-answer, I can send them straight to question 2. It's whatever you want for your kids. The very last one doesn't give me that choice at the bottom. So I have to go back to my little 3 dots, go to section based on answer, and then send them back to question 3 to answer it. Or I have the choice to submit the form if I don't want them to have another chance.
Okay.
Okay. So if I send them back to question 3 for the correct answer, there's no more questions because it's my last one. So the correct answer on question 3, I'm going to put submit form because they're done.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. How would you share, if you want to share this with a colleague and let them use it, how do you share it with them?
Okay, the 3 dots up here next to send. You're going to click this. You can add a collaborator. There's a couple ways to do it. You can add a collaborator. They're going to have access to your Google form. So let's see. I'll show you what that looks like. You can add a collaborator here. Give it to Chris. I only want him to have, see, he can edit it. So that's the only thing is they're going to have, just tell them, hey, make a copy. Or you can go up here and you can make a copy and share that with them. It depends on your colleague. I don't think Chris would edit my form and mess it up, but some people would. So it depends on if you want to share this particular form or make a copy and share that with them.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good questions.
These are great questions.
Good, good. So somebody said they like the idea of the teach piece and the video. You can make your own videos as well and put them in Google Drive and then link them there as a reteach piece, which would be pretty valuable too.
And can I recommend that you do that? And I'll tell you why. Because our kids are, they're craving our faces and our voices. And they want to see your face and your voice, no matter what you look like. Doesn't matter what your room looks like. It is so important to them that I recommend that you go away from the YouTube videos. I mean, sometimes, yes, maybe for new content if you're doing a flipped classroom, but let them see you and hear your voice.
Right.
Will you go to your Google Drive, Denise, and show them that form will show up there?
Oh, okay. So it's called Water Cycle. So I'm going to go right here to my Google Drive. The quickest way for me to find it is go to the Recent tab because I just made it. And there's my water cycle. And even if I go here, let's see, back to my form, and I go to my responses, and I create that new spreadsheet, it's going to be called Water Cycle and Responses. So I can hit that. It's created it. And here's all my answers too. And so it shows all my reteach pieces as well. So I know, again, if I have answers here, that means they missed those questions and had to go to the reteach piece. But I can also go to my Google Drive, and there's my responses as well. So there's my water cycle, and there's my responses. And I know a lot of people are attaching Google Forms. Like if you go to Google Classroom and you create an assignment and create a quiz there, what it's actually doing is opening up a Google Form for you. There's a place that you can turn on to import grades, but if you want to see the responses, you still have to go back to your Google Form in your Google Drive to see what they've answered. Does that make sense? I'll show you that real quick since we have another minute. So if I'm in my Google Classroom, let me go to one of mine. Here's my zombie corona apocalypse class.
Nice.
If I go to classwork, I can create a quiz assignment. And it's created a blank Google form for you. Okay. You have this grade importing, it will import those grades. But basically when you open it up, what it is it's created a Google form for you. You still have to go to your responses. You still have to create that spreadsheet in order to see those responses. The responses themselves are not going to show up in your Google Classroom. You will only get that grade if you put that importing the grades on there. Did I say that good?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else we can help y'all with?
When you insert the video, it takes you to YouTube. But if you want to take the video from your Google, how do you search for it?
That's a good question.
Great question.
Let me go to my, is that the right one? That was my answers.
Just need to go to questions, I guess.
Oh, thank you. I was like, wait, what? Okay. So I can, that takes me to right here, the URL.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a YouTube URL though. I wonder if I could just post a link.
Wonder, yeah, how do we bring it in from Drive? Or if not, do teachers have to upload their videos to YouTube?
Yeah, maybe so. Let's see if I can find a video. The one thing I do have to do is make sure that it's shared with everybody so they can see it. Then I should be able to see. Left the link right there. Ah. Okay, I'm struggling here. Y'all help me.
So you're just trying to get the URL for that, but you don't want to, can you not get that URL once you opened it?
I'm having trouble doing that here. I don't know why. I think,
okay.
I don't know if it's because I'm, show file location. That's what I need. Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. And so can you not pull from your current Omnibox? Your
There,
current,
now I can.
Yeah.
Now I can. It wasn't letting me do that before.
Strange.
So then go back here. All right, let's see. I'm going to add a section, and then I'm going to add, I wonder if I can just add that right there.
I think you'd have to, preview and see if that even shows up as a live link.
Okay, let me move it up. I'm going to move it up to the top just because it'll make it easier in preview. Oh, it didn't. It didn't show up at all.
Yeah. So it looks like the teacher will have to create their video, upload it to their YouTube channel under their district. email, the account, and then pull in the YouTube from there, the YouTube video from there. That's disappointing.
Yeah, it is.
We should, we'll do some feedback to Google for that.
I'm just going to put my video in the Google Classroom and then have the quiz attached to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another way to do that. It's just if you wanted it per question in your Google form as part of the quiz, that doesn't, I guess I don't understand how that works. I'm just unsure how that works.
All right. Any more questions? We're about out of time.
We do want to urge you to get in touch with your instructional technology coach. They can also help walk through this and take the journey of figuring it out with you.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be glad to do that. Or our department office hours.
Yes, at 9 and at 1, I believe they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Thanks for coming, guys.
All right.
Have
a great day.
Thank you.
So on a personal note, Leah,
Yeah.
my mom is like loving it. She's like a third of the way through in 2 days.
Oh, that's so great. I'm so
She's
glad.
doing diamond painting. So, I
Hey,
mean,
Denise,
yes.
you might want to stop the recording.
Sorry. Thank you. Okay. I may have to edit that recording.
Oh, no.
Thanks, Chris.
You bet.
Stop recording.